Here we have a piece by what is otherwise known in Ohio watercolor as a Grand Master. I don't think it's an official title, but Fred Graff has been a part of the original founding group, if I'm not mistaken, and has just been an international, star in the watercolor world. And what's interesting about Fred's approach to watercolor is that he doesn't paint on traditional watercolor paper. He paints on plastic artificial paper called Yupo. And so it's very similar to the kind of paper that you used when you used to finger paint in elementary school. It's the same kind of plastic surface. The paint dries on top of the surface and doesn't soak into the paper. And so it doesn't have that kind of quality where it blends in as much. It blends in wet on wet. As Fred has done, you will see a lot of streaking and the effect of his piece, and it adds to kind of the atmospheric quality, the not real, kind of surreal quality that he brings to his pieces. And he does such a wonderful job of locating his lights versus his darks, and the intersection of lights versus the darkest darks is where his action is, where his center of interest typically is in a piece.
Well, I love the geometric shapes and things, and that's one of Fred's trademarks, I think, is with his composition and his designs and how he lays out his paintings. And when you look at any of his work, you can see a consistency with the direction that he's going in. And it's just beautiful color, textures. And this is a great example of watercolor kind of doing its own thing with the pouring and the movement. And it's just always a beautiful piece, and we wouldn't expect anything less from Fred, I don't think.
The other thing that is so different about painting on Yupo than on a traditional watercolor paper is almost all Yupo painters paint their watercolors vertically rather than laying your paper flat or on a slight slant. They just paint it straight up and down. And you can see that, as Tom was pointing out earlier, with that running down through the thing. But so basically you think about painting on a sheet of glass and just let it roll down like that. And then some of those whites, if you didn't like where they were, you could take it, because it's an acetate, you could actually take a paper towel and wet it and just wipe that surface off, and it's completely white again. So it's really a very forgiving medium in one sense, and the other sense it's very unforgiving because it's just going to run wherever it wants to run. Very different from any kind of control that you might have on a piece of paper. Yupo definitely does its own thing.
Yes.
And with Yupo, brush strokes are paramount, because every brush stroke is the final brush stroke in a particular area of the painting. So, and Fred's very, very instructive with his use. You'll see he uses a flat brush, like a 1-inch flat brush for a majority of his work. And he never gets into the detail with smaller brushes.
In your mind's eye, you can see some abstract imagery in here. I can see some people, some shapes. When you really look into some of the areas and things, you kind of create these illusions and things in your own mind of what the artist was thinking, and some of the elements that he incorporated into the piece. So it's a beautiful piece of work.